What is going on, guys? This is All Gaming with my review of No Game, No Life episode 4, and this episode, it was pretty freaking good. I'm glad to see what Blank's next goal is, because it's definitely a huge one, and I cannot wait to see how they achieve that. But the episode itself, it starts off with us, continuing from last week, where we saw Sora here. He was able to convince the Queen to join their side, and we see now that so many other pieces, they were now also, submitting to Shiro, and they were joining the white side. And we see Shiro's strategy here at work, where of course he was saying that he'll win without fighting. And we see now that the way these pieces that were first part of the black pieces and became white pieces, we see now that they all started this revolution where they all became red pieces, so that way that they wouldn't fall for that brain control anymore. So that was definitely awesome. And so we see now that Kurumi here, she was definitely panicking, and we see her now that she was definitely being pushed to the edge. And at one point, we saw her eyes were actually glowing. Now, I'm not sure if that's because, she's not really human, but it over herself, or maybe it was just the way the animation was. But the fact that her eyes were actually glowing, it definitely, makes me believe that she's also an elf, or it's possible that she actually might be, part human and part elf, because half-breeds could seem, highly likely. I wouldn't say that, there's a real stretch, and I will believe that, by her being that, she'll definitely be a unique character, because I definitely don't think that we're done with her. But we see now that the pizza itself, they were now, kind of hesitating, because they all knew that they didn't want to kill, their former comrades. But we see now that Kurumi here, she was kind of using the magic itself to make them come out there and fight. And so Sora here, he was saying that, people or, dictators that act like this, they only, suffer one fate. And that right there, is assassination. So it's kind of like the king himself, because we see that piece, it was cracking and breaking apart. And basically, all the other pieces, follow suit. And so basically, they all took themselves out. And that right there is how Sora won without fighting. And so now we have a new king and queen, of course, because they won. And we see now that Kurumi, she was still very serious, and she was wondering, what race was helping them, because she could never figure it out. So obviously she cannot accuse them of cheating, when she had no idea, what other race could possibly be helping our characters here. And so at one point we have Sora, who was definitely being serious, and told her to not underestimate the humans so much. We see this unexpected reaction, because I definitely did not see this coming. But we see Kurumi here break it down like a child, and she was just crying. It was just so freaking hilarious. And then we have Shiro, who was saying that Sora made her cry, and even though he never had a girlfriend, he's a virgin. It was just so freaking hilarious. But now we go to where Sora here, it's supposed to be crowned, because we all know that he won the right to become the king. But Shiro here, she was not having that, because she was saying that if Sora became the king, then he'll basically make this kingdom into a harem. I believe that is how you say it. And by Sora doing that, he'll no longer have any need for Shiro. So because of that, she wants to become the one king, even if it's just by name, because they are blank together, and because they want to be crowned together. But apparently because of the pledges, that is not allowed. So we actually see these two playing a game, but apparently it was not the first game that they played, because they were playing games for 3 days straight, where they each had the same numbers of wins and losses, and they also had this crazy number of ties as well. So eventually, I believe that maybe there was some exploit or something. I'm not really sure what it was, but eventually they were able to both become the king and queen of the country. And so that was very freaking awesome. And so now we see that the fact that this country had not had a king for a while, it is definitely in serious trouble. As we saw, Stephanie, she had pulled out she had pulled out something, and we see now that it was basically reports of the country status right now. And so she was saying that some members on this council of theirs, it's possible that they're working, with like other countries as well to possibly, like make the humans, fail. And so Sora had got this brilliant idea, and him and Shiro, they're telling everybody to like rock paper scissors, and if they lose, they cannot hand over any false reports. And of course they won, and so now we see Sora and Shiro, they're already making the country a better place, as we saw what they did with the crop situation. And not only that, we also see what they're doing with the finances as well. So they're like definitely taking care of this, and it's pretty cool to see how quick like they're getting to work on this. And it's also awesome how Shiro here, how Sora, he already played games kind of like this to help better his mind at this. So he already knew what he had to do. So I am definitely impressed so far by how these two are handling running their own country. And not only that, they also had to adjust their people, and they actually changed out of like these royal clothes they were wearing into like the clothes we have seen them wearing, from their own world, because Sora here was saying that he felt the most relaxed here, so it made sense for him, to wear this when he went out there. And we also see in the episode, like in this library where we have all those books, we see like some wing appearing, and I will get to that in a minute. But we also see that Kirimi and her elf friend, they aren't done just yet, because we saw them, actually watching Sora and Shiro when they were addressing the country itself. And so now we see when they go out there, Sora is so freaking nervous, it was hilarious. But when Shiro took hold of his hand, he did calm down. So that was definitely a nice scene between them. And so now we get this like very impressive speech from Sora. Now I will just try my best, to sum it up. But basically, like Sora here made some pretty good points in his speech, because he was saying that even though all these races, they have the magic, and they've been fighting for so long, the humans here, they have still been around, and they even managed to to have their own country as well. And so even though they are the weakest, because there's no doubt about that, and Sora actually owns up to that a lot, they are still able to do so much. So that right there was like definitely impressive. I give Sora mad respect for that, because he actually acknowledges his own weakness. He does not try to hide it, because he knows that the human race, they are definitely the weakest when it comes to everybody else. And I do wonder, I do wish that they will get like some kind of flashback, because I'm definitely curious, how the humans managed to survive for so long, especially when they don't have any magic. And it's possible that they definitely could have been wiped out if all of the countries work together. All of the races work together, because they can't use magic. They are strong like some other races, so it's definitely interesting. And so thanks to his speech, he like him and Shiro, they were actually rewarded a race piece, and that right there only goes to the best representatives of that race. So the fact that they earned that, it definitely means a lot. Like that right there, it was pretty awesome to see. And I do wonder how that race piece will come into play, because we see right now that it's very small, but then you notice in the distance we see like these giant chess pieces. So maybe if they take on these other races and beat them, then their own piece will grow, because we see now that Sora and Shiro, they actually declare war on the other races as well. And luckily, all the other humans, they were like backing them up. And so of course after the speech, we have Stephanie here, who was kind of like freaking out. And we see now like some woman who has like these angel wings, she was also watching the event. And so after it was done, and they calm down Stephanie, we see now that in their room, we see that Sora and Shiro, they would actually look up the other races, and they came across one, I believe it called like the Fugal, and then basically a race that actually plays games to actually get books, because they love knowledge. And I noticed that because of the wings, I'm pretty sure that woman that we saw in the library, she also must be a Fugal. And so I noticed that when the atmosphere kind of changed, like the color and everything, and it kind of seemed like a nighttime, I guess. I thought that maybe the Fugal was like making a move, but it actually turned out to be the god himself. Now at first I thought different, he was like a girl, but apparently he's a guy, and the name is like Teat. Hopefully I'm saying that right. But we see now that they actually came here to talk to Sora and Shiro. and he actually teleports them outside of the castle, like onto the roof. And so they're talking, of course, and basically, like the whole gist of the conversation is that if Sora and Shiro could take down, the other races, then they'll have the right to challenge God. And the God here himself, never lost the game. So the fact that he brought Sora and Shiro there, it's because that right there was the actual first game that he ever lost. And so that right there is pretty awesome. Now I thought that maybe he actually did lose before, and other humans came. Well, other people from the world came there besides them. But it seemed that right there wasn't the case. And so now basically, like thanks to this, we see that Sora and Shiro, because they're blank, and they have to be number one. They eventually, like plan on taking on the other races and beating them, so that they can earn the right to take on, God himself. And that right there is going to be so freaking awesome. I cannot wait for that. Now, I do get that the anime, it will only be 12 episodes, so I'm kind of hoping for like maybe a second season, because I really don't want them to like rush the pacing and then and it's like just for it to get like blame for versus the God. I really don't want them to like mess up the pacing, because so far it's been really good. So if they have to cut back for like a season 2, then I had no problem with that, because so far the pacing it has been really good. But we all have to remember, for them to take on the king, they have to challenge all the other races as well. So they have 15 other races to challenge, and so far we have not seen them all either, because the main one that we have seen so far were the elves, and we just know like so many others by name. And some of them we're still unsure about, so we have to wait. So hopefully the pacing still go very nice. I really don't want them to like rush through this, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because this episode to me, it was definitely good. Now I will admit that the speech itself, even though it was definitely impressive, I felt like it did go on for like a little bit too long. But overall, the episode, it was pretty freaking great. Kirby had me laughing with her crying, and and why Sora and Shiro, playing the game for so long, that right there was also hilarious. So we got some nice story progression and some good comedy as well. But as always, please do not forget to like the video and subscribe, because that really helps me out. And you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.